When I was studying economics, it's a very funny subject. There's lots of different areas that we were looking at. I really enjoyed the philosophical, humanistic side of economics. Unfortunately, there wasn't actually much of that. Everything that I was learning really was, how can we mathematically put together a formula to model a scenario that we know happens, and try and come up with a reason based upon some assumptions which just don't really bear any reality whatsoever. So based upon, I found it really hard to relate to this, and as I mentioned, I really spent most of my time getting good at maths and trying to pass exams, and really building a lot of my experience outside of economics, which didn't really help me to pass my exams. So it just seems that economics lost itself from what it originally was when they seemed to try and introduce a lot more maths and make it more scientific, and it just seemed to lose itself there, and I find it hard to actually believe that this is the foundation for how we actually run our economy. Originally, some of the people that I became most interested in was, I admired Milton Friedman's work. So I say I spent most of my time at university very much from a free marketeer, a capitalist, because I was extremely interested as an entrepreneur myself in business. And so naturally his philosophy just gravitated for me. But I started to notice a few things which, as I started to understand economics a little bit more and how the money system works, that didn't quite add up for me, and started to notice some things which just seem completely inappropriate to be left to the free market, which is where I really discovered this whole crazy little school of thought in economics that I associate myself with right now, who believe that money is far too important to actually be privately created, and most people seem to call us wacky for believing that. When I first discovered this tiny little group of people who called themselves monetary reformers, I was amazed at how small it actually was for an issue that seems so huge throughout history. Many monetary reformers, huge figureheads, presidents throughout history. What seemed to be one of the biggest political battles in history of who actually creates money had just diminished to this tiny group of people. And you could put them into two groups of people. You've got the people that discovered monetary reform through many what people like to call conspiracy theories, and you have people that really look into the serious economics behind it. And so I naturally wanted to gravitate towards who are the people that are actually saying that there's issues with our monetary system. And I was just amazed at how small the actual movement was, how small there's actually in England, there's a group of people that have been meeting up for 14 years called the Bromsgrove Group. And it consisted, and I went there and presented, it consisted of 50 people, and it seemed like that was the biggest movement for what used to be just such a huge issue. And for me, when I discovered that, I immediately tried to really figure out why this actually was, and what really, if there's any beauty that came out of the financial crisis, is it provided an amazing catalyst for bringing what was crazy and wacky during a boom market where everyone was prosperous into, all of a sudden, people of the stature of Mervyn King discussing what this tiny little group of people were discussing in a room. And so for me, it was just amazing, and I'm still to this day mesmerized at how little people actually discuss this movement. But some of the famous authors like James Robertson in this area, I've hugely influenced by his work. But what we've been trying to do is to take the foundation of the work. And when you look in history, some of the greatest economists have really looked at these issues. There's the Chicago Plan in history, there's Milton Friedman, some major economists during the last depressions who all got together to put together solutions and came up with monetary reforms that just gradually disappeared over the bull markets and the prosperous markets.